You can't always hold their hands, but you can put strength in their hearts. You can put courage in their bones, and you can give them a spine made of discipline, of resilience, of fatherhood. The other day, I took my son to a goodbye party for his classmate from preschool. My son, his name is Remy. He's a 4-year-old turning 5. This party, it was a pirate-themed birthday party. Hats, water balloons, laughters everywhere. But you know, beneath the joy was a storm. Remy was born during COVID, so it was just me, my wife, and him. And his birth wasn't perfect. There was complications, and we did go through some stuff. And as a first-time father, it was horrifying for me to feel so helpless. Like, I've never felt so helpless in my life. So he didn't get as much socialization as he's supposed to during those vital years of his life. That isolation left a speech delay. And unfortunately, you take what life gives you, right? But you know, just by him having that speech delay, it taught me one of the most important lessons in my life. When your child is at their weakest, you do everything you can to try to bring them up. And unfortunately, when you try your best, but it's not enough, we've been working through it step by step, word by word. It's been helping, but his growth has been a lot slower than kids his age. Sometimes the words get stuck. Sometimes that draws the wrong kind of attention. At this party, a bully showed up. And this was my first time encountering a bully with my child. As I watched Remy try to run and play with the older kids, I had flashbacks of my childhood. You see, when I first came to the States, I didn't speak the language. I didn't understand the culture, and I wondered why I looked different. You're in this zone, right? You don't know how to do, what to do to fit in, just so you can be normal. And I grew up for a phase in my life not liking being Asian. And sometimes I dislike myself for this phase of my life, but in hindsight, I felt like it was important. You go through this because you don't want to get picked on. I have a name for bullies. I call them giants. And sometimes, to live among giants, you must become a monster. So at that party, I turned away for a drink, trying to calm my nerves. I used to be a social butterfly. Ever since I had my kids, it seems like I've transformed into a hermit. Now I feel like when I'm somewhere like that, in that situation with a lot of people around that I do not know, I only would want to socialize if I had something in common with someone. At that party, I talked to this guy. His name is, we'll just call him B. And we had a pretty solid conversation. He's into like similar things that I am. When you get interested with someone, you talk about stuff. You lose track of time. When you're with your kids, you never lose track of them because they're your kids, right? But I turned around and Remy was gone. I was like, whoa, where did he go? So I asked the host if he saw my son. Someone said he was in the tent. But I found my son, and I knew instantly something was wrong. When you're a father and your kid is sad or his mood changes, you pick up on that. You know. That's part of the perk of being a father and being around them 24/7. He was holding back tears. I asked him what happened, because you have all these thoughts going through your mind, like, what happened to my kid? Like, who did what to my kid? Whatever, because that's part of being like a overprotective father. But he didn't say anything. But me going through a similar situation, I picked up on the vibe, because standing there to his right was an older kid. I would say around 3 or 4 years older than him, so twice his age, maybe 8 and 9-ish. The older boy stood nearby, and he was sort of glaring at my son. And at that moment, I did not need details. I knew exactly what had happened. And my son Remy, at that moment, he did something he had never done before. He whispered, "Daddy, can you give me a hug?" Man, as a father, when your son asks you for a hug after something traumatic happened, I don't know how to explain like the feelings that I felt. So I wrapped him up and said, "I will always love you. No matter what happens, I will always love you. And I will never, ever, never, ever leave you behind. If the world ends today, I will come find you." Those words might sound scripted, but I've always had those words in my head. Because I didn't have a father. And those were the words I wished my father had said to me when he rescued me from that cold basement that monster locked me up in. I didn't have that. I just had my inner self telling me that one day I'll make it out of there and become a father that I did not have. And that's how I got to where I am today. I also said to him after he nodded, "You are my world." I know I will feel like that for the rest of my life. Because I chose to have these kids. They were not accidents. It was a dream of mine to have kids. And here I am sitting with two. He nodded once again. And then with kind of like quiet strength, he admitted, yes. That boy had did something to him. The hardest thing a father can do, my blood boiled. Every fiber of me wanted to step in, confront that bully, that giant, find his parents, tell them exactly what the son was becoming and what he did. But I did not do that. Because it wasn't my fight. It was his. So, doing the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, I bit my tongue and I told him, go play. Daddy will be right here watching you. Go play. While inside, I prayed, you are not smaller than that giant. Stay strong, my son. And you know what? To my amazement, that was all he needed. Remy ran back into the chaos, laughing, chasing the kids, unafraid. Then, the piñatas came out. But for some reason, they didn't have kids lined up to do it. They had first come, first serve. And of course, the oldest bully kid got to go first. The piñata broke and all the candy scattered around. My son, Remy, smaller, outgunned, determined, moved forward. He wrestled. He shoved back. I was so proud. He used his whole body, his weight, and his will. He yanked the candy out of the boy's hand. And he shoved it in his bag. And he ran back to me, triumphantly. I was the happiest man alive. And I was the proudest father alive. He met the bully head on, and he conquered him. And I realized in hindsight, as I was writing this, that day, we both passed the test. Sometimes Your child doesn't need you to fight their battles for them. They just need you to be there, to be present. Because one day, you will not be there, and they must stand alone. Remy learned in 1 hour one of life's hardest lessons: that giants can be faced, and giants can be defeated on their own ground, and that even the smallest can fight back and win. This is legacy. Not money, not trophies. Legacy is the strength you plant in a child's heart. Legacy is the courage you whisper when no one else is watching. Legacy is the moment you choose not to fight for them, so that they can learn to fight for themselves. What matters most is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it.